What is up, Nana Nation and likers of This is Hockey Town? I almost had to remember my line there. I almost want to say off the throat clear, but we haven't done that in a long time. I am here with Anthony El Jefe. You can only see half his face. He's the good side of Two-Face, I guess. There we go. Good job. You know, act like you've done this before. And then we got Brian Smythe, the Canadian Condor, just down here.
How's it going?
And we are here to talk about everything that's been hockey in this last 10 days, I'd say. All the excitement that's been going on with free agency, drafting, qualifying offers. That was a big one. That's with the flat cap. Lots of teams couldn't re-sign guys that they really wanted to. So that's been quite interesting. And then, the trade market is still bustling around with free agents that haven't been picked up yet. Like guys like, big one is, what's his name there? Mike Hoffman? Mike Hoffman, right? I almost want to say Matt Hoffman, but I don't think that's
You say
right.
Mike Cockman?
Mike Cockman.
Also
Mike
available.
Hunt, not signed yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still untouched by any team.
Yeah, it's probably because of his wife, right?
Listen, she'll shove anything she wants up in there, okay? She's my wife, and I am her property.
She's my wife. My wife.
All right, we're off the rails a minute and a half in. Perfect. I derailed
so far,
the
so
hockey
good. This
talk
is what happens when you let me run things there. Half of Anthony's face. Is there any way you can adjust your
problem?
No, that's the other way. It's going to only get your ear now.
It does.
All right, let's start things off with you there. Let's start things off with you there, Anthony. We'll go clockwise. For the draft, what do you think? How did you think that the Leafs did? Give us a little rundown what happened and anybody that you liked, you didn't like, things that surprised you, just all together with other teams in the draft.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I was happy that the Leafs actually had a first rounder this year. They had traded him away earlier. They were able to get one, so I was happy about that. I don't have the information in front of me, but they signed some Russian dude with hands. So be happy for that he ends up. I read one article briefly saying that it was a little bit of a steal and whatever. I don't care. We'll see what happens. If you can make it to the show, I'll be happy. That's my analysis, boys.
Quick, short, sweet.
How do they?
I like it.
They had Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner that announced the draft.
Mitch Marner and Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley, who I made a joke on her feed, looked like a Dakota or a Nebraskan police officer with a drug bust. Like, with this weird blonde mustache, holding the jersey up, being like, "I am the law." I don't know why they picked those guys, but
the Leafs will not tolerate with this.
I guess they're always trying to do something creative. Like, didn't Alex Trebek give one up too?
I thought that was super cool with Tim Stützle. Yeah.
Let's go, Alex.
He's probably the only one that could pronounce the name correctly.
Yeah. Just a little side note. How is he doing? Like, I know he had what was it, pancreatic cancer?
I do not know. I
But
can young Jamie this right now.
Good Lord, Anthony, move to your left, I think, or to your right.
Why?
Because now we can see you.
I don't understand. You couldn't see me before?
No. At least in my view, you're cut off.
I'm in the middle of.
So, Alex Trebek still has cancer, stage 4.
Okay, yeah.
And
but he's doing
basically, he's living through it. He's beat the 1-year survival rate, but that's what happens with money. Money helps you beat things a lot of times.
Like Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
money,
exactly.
Money over everything.
Yeah, yeah. What is it? Paycheck over passion? I think that's the saying.
Yeah, basically.
The Leafs,
pretty well.
All right.
Hockey writers gave the Leafs an A for their draft, by the way, which I think is bullshit, and they love Toronto too much.
Why?
Get off the Toronto dick, hockey writers.
Let me just go over to Anthony's side here.
It's
why?
funny
I don't
because I'm
understand.
recording and you guys are vertical, so Anthony's already
Oh,
above you.
oh, there we go.
um,
Don't you forget it. But why was it bad, Brian?
It's
uh,
coming on.
oh, I didn't say it was bad. They gave it an A. They just said it was a high ceiling draft, which they
Yeah,
said
but you're saying
there could be a
it's
lot of
bullshit.
misses.
Why is it bullshit?
Oh no, I'm just fucking around.
So then
I can't
everybody
comment
got
on
an
the
A?
Leafs draft, but
The reason why is because I hear all these other Leaf fans be like, "Oh, they got to draft defense." Like they don't have to draft defense. Like the guys that they're drafting right now probably don't there's space on the team unless you're like, whatever Lafreniere who's gonna step onto the ice and be a stud off the hop. They don't need to draft defense. They've already drafted defense. Those guys are developing now. They need to keep drafting the guys who are going to take the spots in the second line.
I think that's a valid point. I also think that the way Toronto's drafting, you're essentially, if you're going high ceiling, you're doing one of two things, right? You're looking to plug people in that may have a great year or two in the minors out of nowhere and turn into something special, or you're looking to say, hey, it's a high ceiling prospect, let's flip it for something we need right now to win, right? So
Right.
I think that's where the Leafs, that's where they're sitting drafting right now. Anyone that says they need to draft defense, it's like, well, what, they're gonna get a defender in 3-4 years? Like, I would argue that
Exactly.
defenders may, I would argue, and this could be a debate for another podcast, but I would say defenders take longer to develop. I would say, I think it's hard to find a good defender.
That's what they've been saying for years. Like, look at Hedman compared to Tavares.
Mm-hmm.
Same draft, went 1 and 2. Almost like Hedman's stock went down a little bit after the World Juniors, but they were almost kind of still like a 1-2. Like, who could go first overall? And even nowadays, I'm not even trying to stir the hornet's nest, but who would you say is a better hockey player now? Would Tavares have done better if he developed 1 year, or was it just like, nope, throw him in?
Yeah, no, it's a valid point.
Yeah.
So it is very interesting when we talk with certain players like that, because who was the last defenseman that jumped in the NHL right off the bat? Was it Rasmus Dahlin?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right from the draft.
And
because I don't think Adam Larson jumped right into New Jersey.
No.
Pardon me?
Who just won Rookie of the Year?
Makar?
Cale Makar.
Maker?
This would have been yeah, but he wasn't drafted this year.
Yeah.
This past year. He was drafted a year or two before.
What
I'm saying, Anthony, is
okay.
Yeah. From who's been the last defenseman to make an impact in the rookie year? It's almost like a goalie in not their rookie year, their same drafted year.
Yeah.
So like Patrick Waugh got drafted and then he went, or like Tom Brasso, he came right out of high school and then he won the Vezina as an 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Like Carey Price had a pretty good rookie year. Like, it's rare, extremely rare. But I don't even know. Carey Price may have sat in the minors for a year. I don't know.
That's what I'm asking. It's super rare for a goalie to I don't know when the last time an NHL, a drafted goalie went right from the draft and then got a starting job or even a backup job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with a defenseman, it's more common or would be more accepted, but still doesn't happen too often compared to a forward that goes in the draft and then automatically onto the roster.
Mm-hmm. No, you're very right.
Well, can we backtrack? I just gave you my review of the draft. How did Brian? How did you feel about the Habs and their drafting?
So funny enough, Montreal is drafting for 4 years down the road. We're not drafting for this year, so we went with a pretty big defender with great solid intangibles. Right, he's a good skater, solid defender. Doesn't put many points up on the board right now, but overall, when I'm looking at what Montreal needs and where they're going to be in 3 or 4 years, I think we're looking for that top man defensive pairing that can literally just play good defense, because that's something that we've struggled with. And by the time this guy's up in the NHL, Shea Weber's a thing of the past, right? So we're looking to replace him. So I think it's a good signing, and I like defensemen that are strong skaters. I think it's important in the NHL these days, and Montreal has a few pylons on their team, we'll say. So
Oh yeah.
it gives me confidence. And then the second round we went back to back forwards, which is nice. Once again, high upside guys. So
Mm.
we'll see where they pan out, right? But overall, I think it was a decent draft. It's tough when you're drafting. Like Montreal, realistically, should have probably had a top 5, top 10 pick, but because of how this season played out, and because they shit on Pittsburgh in the play-in round, they managed to actually get through, and now their draft picks were a much lower. What they picked, like 16th overall, I think 15th in that middle of the draft, which is not where Montreal should be picking. But I think they made up for it with their free agency, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, Aaron, what'd you think of Edmonton?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. A lot of guys that I thought were going to be around the 14th pick weren't. Um, I know that a lot of like I was just going off of like TSN, like so Bob McKenzie and Craig Button and stuff. So anybody that they had around 14, I know there was rumors of Askarov going down there, rumors of pardon me, Jack Quinn, a few other guys. What was the one guy I'm trying to think of here? Can't get it off the top of my head. It's okay. But yeah, with Dylan Holloway, it's not the worst. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm like pissed off with it. The more I heard about him, the more I liked him. There was Tony Granato, who was his coach at Wisconsin, and he's saying that low ceiling, he's a Marco Sturm. High
Mm,
ceiling, he's an Adam Graves. So to me, that's like wow, that's like a
it's not
really
bad.
good role player there.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, like I've got no like if you say a low ceiling of like Marco Sturm, I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
not at all.
No, no, no. Like so, it's like I'm quite excited. Guy, a regular 20 goal scorer would be very very welcome. He also plays very tough, which is nice. Not saying that he's an aggressor or he's going to beat the crap out of you or anything like that, but he's just going to be really hard to play against, and you're not going to really like it. And he's just going to be, really strong on the puck and get in the dirty areas really well, and just free up that puck. So like I don't know for maybe like a well for an Edmonton perspective, like we didn't have Patrick Maroon fighting all that much, but he was really good at helping out McDavid by doing that grunt work, work and work and work, and then just pass it to him, and then he just does the flash and stuff. So I don't think he would be playing with McDavid at all. I think there'll be some other guys that'll be slotted with him, even like years down the line when he comes into the NHL and stuff. I see him more of like a middle six guy, like you kind of leading the charge on the third line,
Okay.
or just being very complimentary on the second line, which I think he could do. Especially like he's already like, I think he's 205 pounds and he's over 6 feet now as an 18-year-old. So
Mm,
he's apparently just a big gym rat and everything too. So this NCAA kids just like working out all the time. The other guy I like is Carter Savoy, Edmonton kid. He
mm,
is actually playing in the AJHL. Got drafted, so that's really cool. The Oilers traded down. I thought they were going to do that with the first pick, is go down to like the mid 20s, kind of like what Calgary did,
it's a smart move to trade
but they
down.
didn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially when you see that you're not going to get somebody that you really, really want, and you're like, okay, well, we can get. Now we're in our next group of guys. Like, say we got 5 guys, and we'll trade down from 14 to 20,
And
and
get
then we
recoup
have a
another
new
pick
set of
that way
guys
too.
that are exactly. That's what I thought they were initially going to do, but they didn't do it until because they missed that second round pick because they used that for Athanasiu as well as the next year's second round pick. And they kept their third rounder this year, which means they have to give up the third rounder next year to Calgary because of the Lucic Neal trade, which I
Mm,
think was a good idea because with the COVID restrictions, people are not going to be able to scout.
scout as
The scouts
much.
won't be able to. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good
So
call.
this, yeah, this year I figured it was much more valuable. So anyway, they traded down and they got a couple more picks, which was great. Also, interesting thing, this was the first draft for the Oilers where they just picked only forwards. in their entire
Very
draft.
interesting.
So they're really pushing that way. They feel that the cupboards are stocked for defense. They've got a lot of goalie prospects. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, Carter Savoy, apparently he's a one-shot kind of player, which I'm just like, all right, he takes one shot and it's it. Or, he doesn't follow for his rebound. I think that's kind of an interesting remark, but I guess it just means he takes one shot and it's usually in. It's a good shot
Oh, okay.
and something happens from
I
it.
was like, yeah, I've never
And
heard that before. One shot player.
yeah, and apparently he's just puck hungry. He's just a hound on the puck, so he'll always chase after it and just keep going and working for it. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with the Oilers draft there. I wouldn't say it's one of their better ones, but for what they had and what they had to work with, and this very interesting, unique year that we have. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with what they did. Quite content.
I think a lot of people had Carter Savoy in like because you guys got him when like landed
100th
him at
overall.
number 100 you
Yeah.
landed him at overall,
Hmm.
and a lot of people have him right around top 50 in the prospect rankings. So
Oh, really?
that's a
I didn't see that
like
one.
yeah, a lot of people are looking at that as a steal from what I'm seeing here, which is nice. And I'm going to reference a different sport for this, but what you talked about trading down, I have a theory that that's why the Patriots are so successful, because I think it gets to a point where when you go into drafts every year, and there's a lot that's just a crapshoot, right? Like, well,
Mm.
you can scout as much as you want, but like you're wrong probably 50+% of the time, right? So the
Yeah.
more picks you have, the more opportunity you have to be successful. And I think that's why the Patriots have been so good in the NFL and built that dynasty. So I'm a big fan of trading down. I think if you are not 100% sold on a guy where you are, absolutely trade down 4 or 5 picks. Get like especially if you're trading down the first, second round, and you can recoup a third, fourth rounder for that. Why not? Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've always heard the term, it's like magic beans. So if you have more magic beans, maybe one of them turns out to be something all right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing more and more these years that later rounds are turning out to be really good. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just drafting well. I'm a firm believer in development. Coming from a team like the Edmonton Oilers, where we've had a lot of high picks, and people say, oh, they don't draft well. Oh, they don't draft well. They're picking the wrong players. I also think it's a part of the culture and the way we develop. So with what happened with Jesse Puljujarvi, we'll get into him a bit more later.
Yeah.
And then guys like Nail Yakupov, it's very interesting because like, would they not have worked in these systems anywhere else? Or like, sorry, Magnus PRV Svensson. Like, there's so many players. We can just go on list on and on and on and on. With players that didn't do so well in Edmonton. Was it the drafting or was it the development? But then we picked guys like Cam Abney and Jean-Francois Jacques and Jesse Niedermäki and Yanni Rita, and list goes on there too. Were these guys going to be duds anywhere? Like Marc-Antoine Pouliot. Like, fuck, he had like over 100 points in the queue. I forget with who. But then he gets, and like that was the year where Getzlaff, Perry, Richards, Carter, Milan Mahalik, all those guys are getting picked. Zach Parise, and then we picked Marc Antoine Pouliot. Was it just because we picked the one dud? Not the one dud. There was a few more, but we just picked that one guy. Or if he got drafted
Mm-hmm.
by the Penguins, would have he actually done well, or Philly, or whoever? So it's quite kind of interesting in that regard. But yeah,
No,
I'm
fair
not I'm
enough.
not opposed to trading down either. If we had the 14th and we trade down, sure, because they said there was an obvious, um, not like everyone after the 10th pick went to shit, but they said there was an obvious drop to the next level after
Mhm.
the projected top 10.
Yeah, and
So
fair enough, right? No, I'm curious, and we'll get into it. What you think of the Oilers' recent situation with signings and bringing some people back?
yes, yes.
So with that,
So
yeah, let's hop into it. I was gonna say, I think we just hop right into it, and then we talk free agency.
yeah, might as well. Anthony, you want to kick it off with what you thought of free agency so far?
Yeah, sure. Well, first and foremost, I think this is going into a season where a lot of teams are very conscious with the compression of the schedule. I think a lot of teams are looking at possible injuries and other things that might hamper a successful season. So I think a lot of teams are stockpiling on certain things. Just today, the Leafs signed Aaron Dell to a 1-year deal, like a depth signing, I think it would be called. They also lost one of their blue chip prospect goaltenders free agency too. Capasolo, I think is his name. He ended up signing in Nashville. But anyways, the reason I bring that up is because I think a lot of GMs are, with the cap kind of flat and boring and not moving, I think a lot of GMs are just picking up guys that might fill in holes that are going to happen in this condensed season. Mm-hmm. With that being said, can I please start with the Taylor Hall signing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
go for it.
You started with Aaron Dell, but yeah, we can go on Taylor Hall.
That was just to prove a point, but the Hall signing it still baffles me. I guess it makes a little bit of sense. You know, both got some cap space. They can spend some money. They're trying to make Eichel happy. Blah blah blah. It feels weird. It feels weird.
Who wants to go to Buffalo?
In the East?
Yeah.
What?
Who wants to go to Buffalo?
Dominic Hasek?
Yeah.
Mike Pekka?
You know who? Jason Pominville. Jason Pominville wants to play in New York or in Buffalo.
Yeah. The Taylor Hall signing, weird to me. From his perspective, though, maybe he was trying to align himself with the best center he could possibly align himself with to increase his value for when the cap starts to increase again. Right? I expect the cap's probably going to be flat for a couple years, realistically, but maybe that's his mindset is, listen, we can call it a down year for him, kind of. He didn't get a point a game. You know, you expect he's kind of a point per game player. So when you take that into account, then maybe he's thinking, all right, Eichel's a great center to align myself with. Who's gonna play on the wing? Quinn? Maybe Quinn? This is a young guy. And
already?
Yeah, I don't know. If you think about
it,
Let me see who else Buffalo has.
And then you got Dahlin in the back end, right? Like who's a good defenseman who can move the puck, right? So from a perspective for Taylor Hall, you're like, hey, maybe I can have another 90+ point season next season, and at that point maybe I can command $10 million a year. Maybe I can command a longer term deal with a high cap hit, as opposed to, we don't know what teams were offering him, right? He's also kind of a locker room cancer from how I feel, at least. So yeah, exactly how you feel too. Right? Like, so it'll be interesting. If he meshes well with Eichel, that could be dirty. Like, that could be very, like, that's a line you do not want to see.
That could be this line for sure.
Yeah, and that power play. Like, that power play could be dirty.
Yeah, and got Sam Reinhart on there too. It all depends on who else they could line up on that crew, for sure.
Yeah, so the whole signing is definitely interesting, right?
Hold on. Did you guys already mention that Jeff Skinner still plays for Buffalo?
No, we didn't.
Well, he is a righty, isn't he?
He's a left winger.
Oh, he's a left winger.
Yeah, so unless he's willing to move.
And they traded for Eric Stahl as well.
Right.
Yeah, so
they also got Sam Reinhart, so Eric will be on the third line most likely.
That's so Taylor Hall, check. I don't know if any of you have any more feelings about that, but
oh yeah,
Buffalo might be.
Did you see that they
boys? Buffalo might.
Buffalo signed Cody Eakin for $2.25 million per year.
What?
So it's a 2-year deal worth $4.5 million. Cody Eakin.
Interesting.
That one really struck me as like, Okay, flat cap, Cody Eakin. Yeah, I like Cody Eakin. Don't get me wrong. He played well for Dallas. He played well for Vegas. Played for the Jets for a little bit.
Winnipeg.
But
Winnipeg.
to call for 2.25 million per year, I don't know about that.
Well, and we're kind of talking Reinhardt's there. You have Stahl, you have Eichel, so Eakin's the fourth center at 2.5
Yeah.
million a year. And like, what value does he offer as a fourth center? Like, is he really good on the face-off circle? Like,
I know he's a really tough guy. He might be really on the face-off circle. He's the guy that smashed Pavelski's face open.
So yeah, maybe
game.
that's why.
Intimidation.
Okay, so
Does it have a price?
he's kind of right around
You know what?
50% on the face-off dot for a career.
That's not bad at all. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, so he's kind of right around
So
50.
he'll be a PK guy for sure.
Yeah. So that's 2.5 mil. You got a guy who you can trust to get it, that late game face off that you need to get, and he can penalty kill. Like, that's an okay value, but it's a weird signing. It kind of talks to COVID in general, right? It's right up there with the Aaron Dell signing that Anthony mentioned earlier. It's like, okay, I guess we're filling out our goaltender with $800K signing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Just one more note on Buffalo. They only have one goaltender signed right now. They only have Hutton signed right now.
They should have signed Aaron Dell.
Not everyone can be as lucky as a blue and white, baby.
they haven't re-signed Linus Ullmark? That's surprising.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Okay, so do you guys want to talk about Pietrangelo?
Yeah, I was like, we gotta talk about him and talk about what like Vegas doing, and is he that big of an upgrade over Schmidt to cost another $3 million a year? Do you think?
I had this debate. I thought Schmidt was more up and coming than Pietrangelo would be. I think the difference is he's proven, he's led a team, blah blah blah. I don't know it on paper, but does he add the other stuff? Does he add the leadership in the locker room?
Absolutely.
Is he that guy? I don't know. What?
Yeah, Pietrangelo, he was the captain for the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah,
and the leadership.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, he adds that. Does Nate Schmidt actually add that?
Well, and that's the thing, and you got to kind of. This one was tough for me because I'm torn. Like, you're talking 7 years for a 31-year-old defenseman.
Yeah.
Right? 7 years is a long commitment. And you get the feeling like Vegas makes that commitment because they need him now, or they want him now. They think they need him.
Yeah.
Does he?
Did he overpay?
Yeah. So they definitely overpay, commit too long, which happens all the time in the NHL. But I didn't expect it this year, not during COVID. That seemed nuts to me. Like,
right.
You're looking at a flat cap the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So, like, Schmidt seems like a bargain. And they got, what, a third rounder from Vancouver?
Third rounder, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. It's definitely, like, in the next season or two, that's, you got a great window if you're Vegas. Vegas already had a championship caliber team.
Oh, yeah.
And they just added the best defender in free agency and one of the top defenders in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But did they hemorrhage their future a little bit for it? Maybe.
And a big thing, sorry to cut you there, Brian.
No worries.
But a big thing a lot of these teams need to focus on that we've all heard before too, what's coming up at the end of this coming season? The expansion draft.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they're acquiring all these guys and they're trading picks away and stuff, if you trade a pick for a player, if you can't get rid of another player on your team for another pick, then you're going to lose them most likely.
Yeah.
So that's where Edmonton's having a real issue right now with their forwards, is we have so many right wingers right now, especially with our free agent signings. It's like, how are we going to get rid of them? Who's going to want to take them for some kind of value?
Yeah.
So it's getting really, really tricky. So when you trade Nate Schmidt away, who's an established defenseman, I would say he is an established number 2 in the league. He's awesome. I really like him. If I knew that he was available on the trade block, I would have tried to make a move for him.
Yeah.
But
I would have too.
Here we are, and he's in Vancouver now. Fuck. Vancouver and Calgary getting all these upgrades.
I don't think he was on the trade block. I think Vegas moved him to try to free up some money.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a last minute decision. Like, who can we cut cap wise? Who doesn't fit necessarily anymore, right? But even still, like Montreal, Edmonton, Toronto, all were probably kicking themselves because they've all committed cap space already before this happens. Because this took so long to get there, it had to be a team that had some more cap space, or it had to be someone that felt confident they could make the space afterwards, right? Which I don't think that's any of our teams, because he's almost he's like a 5.5 million hit, or like 5.75 million hit a year, right? So,
and he's also a bit older too, not as old as Pietrangelo. I think Pietrangelo is worth the money, not in flat cap era, and that is why
29.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah.
Schmidt, 29.
29.
That's why I'm so surprised that Pietrangelo and Hall didn't go to Colorado. Sign a 1-year deal each. Yeah, you're going to get a little bit older, but what are they like? Maybe Pietrangelo not so much. He has that one cup, and now he wants to get paid. But for Hall, it's like I'm going to reaffirm with what you guys say. It's just so strange to me. Like, why you're getting closer to 30? Why wouldn't you try to, establish your mark as like a champion on a team or something like that? Chasing that trophy, because as we all know, the later you wait, guys like Jerome McGinley, Danny Alfredson, Matt Sundin, they finally make the move at the end, and then it's too little, too late, and they can't get it. But like, is that going to really stop their legacy so much? Not really. We're getting to that point where a lot of players are going to retire without a Stanley Cup, but it is definitely something that I think every NHL player wants. Well, no, I know for a fact every NHL player wants to win a trophy, especially a Stanley Cup. So why not go to a team where you're going to have lots of fun, lots of running around? Even if he plays on the second line, he's going to get matched up against other guys that aren't the top line. Okay, sweet. Sounds good to me. I'll fucking play second line on Colorado.
No, that's very true.
Just a little bit of Schmidt information is his cap hit was 595, so just a hair under $6 million a season on him. So really, the upgrade to Pietrangelo isn't that drastic.
Yeah, it's like what, $2.5 million upgrade roughly.
And what's the cap? Sorry, where's Vegas on the cap right now? Are they in the red?
I think they may still be
like
in the red by
over.
Yeah, I think after this trade they're a few mil over still. They need to work it out.
And it blows me away how they made a statement too, saying that Lehner and Fleury will be their goalies for the start of the season.
I wanted to talk about that.
Sorry,
Brian. So let me give you Vegas's number for now. Right, currently they're 82.4 million bucks. Oh, sorry. The total cap hit, is 82.5 million bucks. So right now they're just like 1 point something off of it.
Tiny bit over. Okay, that kind of aligns with what I thought. To get back to this goalie situation though, and having multiple goalies that cost like $5 million a year on your roster when you're trying to compete for a championship, I think they just kept Fleury because they're worried about Leonard's shoulder. I guess it came out that he's having off-season shoulder surgery.
Makes sense.
So they're worried. Yeah. Apparently it's just a cleanup, but like I'm always concerned with stuff like that. So unless they could get really good value for Fleury, maybe they're also thinking, hey, we ease up on Leonard at the start of the year. Let Fleury have a lot of starts. We have a good D core. We have a good offensive core. Fleury's stats will still look good. And then maybe we can flip Fleury close to the deadline and fill a need then, right? Maybe that's what they're looking to do. It's tough. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's the only thing I can think of. Yeah, sorry, only thing I can think of.
No, it's fine.
So,
leaving on from Hall, Torrey Krug, yeah, since Pietrangelo left,
Yeah, will he
Yeah.
replace Petrangelo? Do you think like he fills that void, or do you think there's something still to be desired there?
I think he fills that void. St. Louis has a really good defensive core, and they have
Excellent.
very defensively minded forwards too. I think they can kind of mentor Krug. He's still quite young, into maybe being a bit more defensive minded.
Hmm.
He can hit really well, as we saw from who was it there? Robert Thomas's picture on Instagram. It's just like, oh, nice to meet you. Are we friends? All that kind of stuff. And that was from the playoffs when Krug just freaking ran the fuck over Robert Thomas. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting. I do like Torrey Krug a lot. There was lots of rumors about him going to Edmonton a few years ago, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see where it goes. I'm not opposed to it. Just all depends on how much we're giving away.
Hmm.
Especially when Peter Trelli was running the show, I believe. um, but yeah, no, I think he'll be a good fit for St. Louis. They have some guys that can pair up with him, like Torrey Krug paired up with Colton Parayko. Oh my God, like
That's dirty.
what a lineup!
Yeah.
What a lineup right there! Like quite a solid pairing, and then you have your first line, second line, or even power play. Like, ooh,
Hmm.
that's all right when you're paired up with a freaking animal like Parayko, and then you got those guys passing the puck to each other on the umbrella. But yeah, no, I think that's all right. They're gonna miss they're gonna miss a lot of the leadership from Petrangelo, locker room chemistry and everything too. But I think Krug will jump right in nicely. Like there'll be that kind of like respect, kind of excitement at the same time. Losing, like Krug losing to Stanley Cup a couple of years ago to St. Louis, but he'll step right in, no problem. Lots of Americans on that team still.
6.5 mil a season, which isn't bad for him. That kind of fits right in between Schmidt and Petrangelo. Kind of like, which
Mm-hmm.
is where I see Krug kind of fits in from a value perspective. You where I would have liked to see him go, and this is gonna be a crazy take, but because you
Arizona.
touched on it. No. You touched on how he's a great offensive defenseman, and hopefully they can shore him up defensively. You where you go to
Mm.
shore up defensively? To the Islanders.
Nashville.
The
Oh,
Islanders. Barry Trotz.
fair
Yeah.
enough.
Trotz is
Yeah,
a
yeah, that'd be
great
fair.
defensive coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they missed out on A, adding some more offensive firepower, but B, like
Compliment Matt
getting
Barzell too. Yeah,
getting some value like that out of Krug, and then if you could make him a better defender, scheme it better, that could have been interesting. But obviously St.
yeah, very
Louis is
much
still
so.
viewed as a powerhouse, right? So if you're a free agent, where do you think you're going to go? The Islanders or St. Louis? Well, St.
Yeah,
Ous just
yeah. I
won
think a
a
lot of people still
cup.
think. Yeah, yeah. No, a lot of people still see Islanders as like one of those bubble teams where like
Hmm.
I see them more as a bubble team, but when you got Barry Trotz, manning the helm there, like oof, like you can go some far places, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Especially
he's
got
one of the
Nick
most
Leddy on the back
underrated
end
coaches.
too.
Yeah, Nick Leddy on the back end too, right? Like, imagine throwing Krug in that back end. That would have been nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but say la vie. We can go through all these signings, but maybe we kind of switch and pivot and talk about what our teams have done so far, and
Absolutely.
and what we think. So I'll pass it to Anthony because he hasn't talked in a while. We've been taking it all up.
He looks pretty. He looks pretty other. I think he's quite green right now.
No, I'm on the down end, but I was reading up on things I should know about this team. Brian, please, I hope when you get to your team, you talk about the Max Domi signing, which I called like
Oh, I will.
2 months ago, or trade, I should say. But yeah, um, overall, I like the Wayne Simmons signing. I enjoy a lot. A couple years ago, there was talk about him coming into Toronto. He's like a local guy. He'll do well for that kind of stuff. So I was happy, a million and a half. How do you not appreciate that kind of contract? The Bogosian signing, I was a little shocked by because the way I kind of see him, he's kind of like that seventh defender. Like he's not really. I don't see him pairing up with anybody. So I think he's more of just kind of like a little bit of a grit. With if they need to throw some grit in there, or at the end of with some major injuries or anything like that. Obviously, I already talked about Aaron Dell, how impressive that signing is. What did I miss? Was there another big one I missed?
Travis Boyd.
Travis Boyd, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be like a huge factor, right? Because there's already talks of a possible Joe Thornton signing at 41. If you could pry him from his shirtless escapades in Switzerland right now. But
Yep, snow
I
shoveling.
don't know.
Yep, lots of snow
Yeah,
shoveling.
I think it'd be nice for that kind of signing. I'd be interested to see if it has a thing. I mean, they already signed Spezza, so I don't know how much more veteran age they need on their team. But the Boyd signing, I think, is just a depth move. And same with the trade that brought Joey Anderson to the Leafs. It looks like more of a depth move that just to kind of bulk up the system a little bit. I feel
What
like I'm
about
missing another one.
Bogosian?
Yeah, I talked about it. I don't really see him pairing. The big one, I guess, TJ Brody.
I was gonna get
I
there.
mean, yeah, it's I thought initially that the Muzz and Riley pairing them back in would work out nicely, but it seems like Brody's going to step in and be a really nice addition to Morgan Riley. So that'd be number one, and then you're looking at Hall and Muzzin number two, and then possibly Sandin and McDermott. Dermott, if that happens, and then Bogosian, I just felt as like the odd man out on that. But like I said, like depth move, add some grit. Just won a cup. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I think you're kind of right. Adds a little bit more depth on the defensive end, which is huge for the Leafs.
It's what the Leafs need. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got why the Leafs would ship out or want to ship out Anderson, Frederick Anderson. It didn't make any sense to me initially. All the talk about like who were they going to really upgrade with? Like, I don't think Holtby would be a huge upgrade on Anderson. I don't think
I don't think so either.
signing like Lundqvist right there. I didn't think that made any sense. The
Mhm.
most sense is Frederick Anderson. He knows the team. You know, you can pepper him with shots all day. It didn't make any sense to try and want to move him, so I'm glad that didn't happen. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm happy with what the Leafs did. I think they need to do a ton more than what they've done already.
Yeah, I think that's valid. What do you think, Aaron?
You don't think that the TJ Brody signing is a little bit too high?
No.
I
What's the
think it's
going
quite
rate for a right-handed defenseman?
true, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a little bit too much there.
It might have been a bit too much, but I mean, it doesn't make any.
Just for the cap space and everything, you figure that there would be more of a sell being like, hey, like we already got everything up front. All we need is some stuff in the back. If you come here, we'll see where we can go. TJ Brody is a good defenseman. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say he's not a good defenseman. Playing for the Leafs and for the Flames and stuff, being a rival. But I just think, what was it, 5 million for 4 years?
Yeah, yeah. It's 20
something like
million,
that, yeah.
20 million total.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5 million per year.
Yeah. To me, that's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Nate Schmidt territory.
It's a right-hand defenseman. They're in a premium. It is what it is, and it's. I mean, he's going to be your number one. He's going to be your top line guy. He's
Yeah.
only $5 million for your top line D. Isn't worth it. Morgan Ryan's making 4.5 or something like that. So, I don't think that's unreasonable for your top line guy.
I think he'll pair well with Riley too, which makes it maybe like for a team like the Leafs, especially if you're in a bidding war, where like let's say maybe he's worth 4.5 or something, right? Maybe he's worth a tiny bit lower than that. But for a team like the Leafs, if you feel like he's that last piece, like you haven't been able to pair a defender with Riley for a while, if you think he's the guy that's going to fit well on that pairing and kind of balance out Riley's aggressive risk taking, we'll call it.
Well put.
If you think he can balance that out, then by all means splash an extra 500K a year just in case, right? Even a flat cap year, I can understand why you do it, but it's if it works out, right? Because like the Leafs right now, it just seems like any defenseman they touch, it's like the opposite of King Midas, right? It just turns to shit instead of gold. So
There's a lot of
seems like with this time right now, where you see bigger money going to longer term, I'm just like, wow, fuck. Like, if it was 2 years at 5 million each year, not so bad. But just that 20 million for 4 years, like that's just where it's like, oh man, that's quite a bit. Or if it was like, let's say 4 years, but at 4 million, that's not so bad either. But it's just that little extra million or that little extra term that really scares me away from that deal. That's just
So I think it will be fine by the end of it. Also, you gave Muzzin, I think, 4.4 over 3 or 4 years anyway, 4 years. So I think it's kind of all around the same amount of money. And I think those guys with a little bit more experience behind them, I mean, like Muzzin, Riley, and now Brody, they're guys that have a good tenure in the league already. So, and Bogosian,
and
obviously,
Muslim's got 2 cups.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's where I'd give him more money than Brody.
yeah, then you look at age and everything else. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Leafs are still under the cap for what it's worth, under the cap like by $500 million. So that's enough to sign Joe Thornton and fill their last roster spot.
Uh, I was gonna say you could have went for Patrick Marleau, but San Jose loves
Been
their
there,
Marleau.
been, been there, done that.
Yeah. Aaron, let's hear the hot take because you guys brought Jesse back.
Yeah, no, that was actually quite exciting. I think a lot of Edmonton fans are excited for him to be back. I'm sure there's a few that are a little reluctant to be like, oh, well, we didn't want you anyway, whatever, stay in Finland. But when you draft somebody fourth overall, you want them on your roster and you want them doing something. If anything, just playing in the NHL, bringing up their stock. So hopefully you can maybe trade them later if that's what your little like handshake behind the curtain agreement's going to be. What I did find interesting is that Elias Anderson from the Rangers, he got traded to LA for a second round pick. Who knows where that'll land in the second round too? So, um, like, would I rather have a second rounder than Puljujarvi? No, I don't think so. I think we could get much more for him if he chose to, learn and develop and play the way that we want him to play, however that is between Holland and Tippett. But yeah, no, all I can say is I'm happy that he's going to be on the roster. Hopefully, he can slot in on the third line right next to our newly acquired third line center, Kyle Turris. I think that's quite exciting. Him recently getting bought out, signing a very, very low contract. I think it's like somewhere around 1.6 million. Um, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's a 2-year contract as well, so pretty cool. He's definitely going to be a penalty killer. He can put up points. He's no stranger to getting some offense involved, but he's not going to be really running the power play at all. Like we all know that the top power play in the league is run by two of the best players in the league, and there's not really a whole lot of room for tourists to be on the wing or defense or anything like that. And then the second power play unit isn't really being played that much anyway, so he'll be more of a penalty killer and role player, especially third line center. That's the biggest option right there. We also got Tyler Ennis. Very excited about him coming back to the team. He is coming off a major injury from the playoffs. We'll see how soon he'll be ready. But we also have a plethora of forwards in the cupboards there. Lots of right wingers and other guys there that are just kind of those role player or AHL players, but I'm not sure if anybody's going to want to take them as throw in because cap is so valuable these days. Yeah, we're going to see how that goes. I wouldn't say sadly. Is like I do like him as a goalie, and I've always found his career quite interesting. Mike Smith always re-signed. 1 year, 2 million, which I also think is quite high. I figured it would be like 1.5 million. But I find it was kind of lackluster. I was almost hoping that we'd get like a Thomas Greiss or maybe Corey Crawford, knowing that Crawford was going to go back to Chicago. That would have been something else to have him kind of mentor any young goalies coming up and just have his leadership and playoff expertise in that locker room. Get some veterans in that locker room. We need that veteran presence big time. We have a lot of kids on the team. So, yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with that, but a lot of people were also, shouting like, "Oh, well, let's get Markstrom." The rumor I was hearing was 7 years at 5 million a year, which would be more manageable, but that's only 500,000 more than Mikko Koskinen on the Oilers. So what do you do with that contract? You can't have two goalies making 9.5 million when the rest of your team is taking up so much cap. An example, McDavid, Draisaitl, all those guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a bit of a sticky situation for Holland to move all these different pieces, and there was so much going on. That's another thing I found so fascinating
Mhm.
was so many trade possibilities. And then as soon as one, domino falls, then maybe the rest of the rest of them start, falling too. It's like that game Kerplunk. You keep pulling like a different little rod, and all of a sudden all the marbles fall. And that's what we saw in free agency. A few guys started going, and then boom, everything else started going. So
Mhm.
I found that really, really, really interesting. The qualifying offers I found kind of interesting as well. We did not we did not tender a qualifying offer to Athanasiou, nor did we for Matt Benning. Matt Benning, a right shot D man, does have a bit of offensive upside, but has not found his potential yet. He got signed by Nashville, where I think that's going to be a good fit for him. He's a heck of a player. I actually like him a lot. He just hasn't found his consistency with the Oilers, so that's a
Mhm.
bit of a shame. But you know, Athanasiou to qualify him would have been about 3 million. So maybe he'll just end up signing with somebody else for a bit cheaper. I doubt it, but who knows? I'm sure somebody will budge, whether it's Ottawa or Detroit or somebody with a lot of cap. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, like with Edmonton, there's a lot of question marks. Alex Chiasson, he's a very good goal scorer. He's been showing how he can be valuable, especially on the power play. Chris Russell, I think he might be the odd man out for a D man in the six, especially since we've signed Tyson Barrie. He'll be definitely on the top unit and the top pairing. It's kind of a debate who he'll be paired with. So many right-handed shots and some left-handed ones. I'm not sure what. Like, would you pair Larson with Barrie? And then you kind of like pushing everybody else down, like Nurse and Ethan Bear and Seth Jones and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting in Edmonton right now for roster slotting. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, you guys
With
have a
that,
lot of right wingers, right?
we have a lot of right wingers, and I'm almost wondering if we could make some kind of deal happen here with other players that are on the trade block.
Mm.
There's still a lot of guys like there's Matt Dumba who's still on Frank Zaravalli's trade bait list. That's one guy I'd be very interested in. We're also looking for a top six winger. So guys like Tyler Johnson, Jake DeBrusk. I was almost hoping for Andreas Janssen from Toronto, but you guys traded him for somebody. I don't even know who.
Or next to nothing.
Alex Killorn. Like, there's a lot of guys on that list that are still on the trade bait board. So
Mhm.
we'll see what happens. Like, I know Holland is still hoping for, um, well, maybe he's settled on Mike Smith being his other goalie. It would have been nice to see some kind of improvement there. But besides that, definitely a top six winger is something that we want. If we could get Tyler Johnson, but cheaper than 5 million, that would be pretty essential. But I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
Yeah. No, fair enough. You
So,
guys, it's not a bad situation to be in,
no,
having
it's not the
having
worst.
a plethora of a specific position. All
Hmm.
right, it provides you flexibility, and that's kind of the situation. Nice segue coming that Montreal is in. So I'm gonna read the list of right wingers here. So we got Brendan Gallagher. This is what we
Ooh,
had.
Edmonton boy.
Yeah, yeah. Brendan Gallagher, great, nice, gritty player, willing to fight down low, even though he's tiny, willing to
Hmm.
fight down low and battle for the puck. The ultimate hustle player. He's the
You're talking about
Rudy of the
Brad
NHL.
Marchand?
He's the poor man's he's the poor man's Brad Marchand. Then
Claude
we
Julien's like, oh, I miss Marchand.
so so going into free agency and coming out of the season, we basically had Gallagher and Armia. Those were our key right wingers. right? Like Armia had, I don't want to say brilliant because that's kind of overselling it, but he had a solid playoffs
Oh,
and
his
really
postseason was
showed up.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really showed up and was clutch. And man, he showed quick hands and a dirty wrister, which I like, unexpected for me. Unexpected watching him and just how he fit. He kind of lit a spark for the team. So we have those two guys, and then we trade Max Domi. And
Yeah.
people are like, oh, you guys traded Max Domi for Josh Anderson. That's interesting. And it's like, so you trade Max Domi, and he's clearly doesn't want to be on the team anymore. He's upset, doesn't get along with management, doesn't get along with our coach. That's fine, right? Josh Anderson. It's going to be interesting to see which Josh Anderson we get back, right? Because he's had two very distinct seasons that I can point out with Columbus. One where he was a great power forward. One where he was big Brendan Gallagher. He was big Brendan Gallagher, right? Like he'd get in front of the net. He'd be constantly creating havoc down low, right? Great guy to have if that's the guy. But then we have the guy that just disappeared last year. Did the Max Domi. So it's like, did we trade Max Domi for someone else that's going to disappear? It's a big question. Then Max Domi signed his contract with Columbus, and let me pull up the average annual value, $5.3 million a year. For a guy that put up 70 plus points as a center.
Yeah. What's his term?
2 years, $5.3 million a year.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's a really good deal.
Good for Columbus.
That's
We
really
signed Josh Anderson for $5.5 million a year.
A guy who's not having a proven season yet, really.
Yeah, hasn't had a proven season yet. We signed him for a 7-year commitment.
Yeah,
7 years
is huge.
Never played a game for us. We gave up Max Domi. Instead of trying to repair the relationship, we said, nah, we're cutting bait. And then we brought this guy from Columbus, a relatively nice hockey market where they're just happy they're doing well, to Montreal, which is like one of the most cancerous hockey markets in the league, because already they're like, he does not speak French.
Anybody we pick up, anybody Montreal picks up, do they speak French?
Yeah, so
Parlez-vous français?
So it's a little concerning, but that being said, power forward. Montreal did not have very many power forwards. Now we have one. And then we just signed Toffoli, another right winger. Right? And Toffoli fits really well with Montreal. Once again, I think we signed him at a party.
Toffoli,
yeah.
Toffoli.
But we just signed him for, I had it written down here, $4.25 million a year.
Yeah, that's a
Brilliant.
good deal.
Would you say he's a better player than Josh Anderson?
For what I've seen, absolutely. Because I have more videotapes to watch.
Yeah. $4.25 million a year looks great right now, right? But now we're in a situation where we have it like who's our fourth line right winger right now? Armia? Armia's not fourth liner on most teams in the league.
Not after this postseason.
No. Right? So we could potentially get a big return for him, or we have to ask someone to play left wing. Which, once again, we asked someone to play left wing, but our left wingers, Drouin, Tatar, Byron, and Lehkonen. Right? Like, we have a pretty good position. Like, and once again, you move him to left wing, who's the odd man out? Do we put Byron at center? Because Byron's played center before, right? We're in an interesting situation. So I don't know what it's going to look like.
Hold on, not to mention there's no cap space in Montreal.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't have any cap space, and that's the Carey Price situation.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have no cap
Well,
space because we have 15 million committed to goalies.
well, what do you think about that Jeff Petrie deal?
uh,
Bit high?
a little bit high.
Mm.
Fan
I think
favorite.
I think he's earned it. Oh yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome for Jeff Petrie.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
but yeah, like don't get me wrong, like I think he's a wonderful hockey player too. I thought it was a little bit high for him.
Well,
It's
especially
almost 6 million,
considering
I think.
he's
Hey,
33. Yeah, 5.5
yeah.
million. He's 33. Yeah, I think he's 33. He was born in '87. So
Hmm. And you got him for 4 years, I think. So
yeah, it's
yeah.
it's a it's a pretty big commitment, but he's been a top pairing guy for us the whole time he's been here. And he's been pretty good defensively and surprisingly good offensively. I don't think when we acquired him we expected to get anything like we've got from him offensively, right? So
Oh, that fucking goal that he got in the playoffs. Just
dirty.
that snipe, and it was like just as big as the puck.
Yeah,
That's like, how the
dirty.
hell did he shoot that? Like from like the bottom of the circle on Matt Murray.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big
Holy fuck.
things is the other thing that he does really well, and there are defensemen that do it really well, and there are defensemen that are a liability when they do it, is Petrie always seems to pinch at the perfect time.
Yeah,
Always.
absolutely.
He's
Yeah.
so good at it. Right? So I can't say enough about that. So from that perspective, 5.5 million, I'd pay him that this season. I'd pay him
You
that
can,
next season.
yeah.
When he's 36 years old, am I paying him 5.5 million anymore? Doubtful, right? But
Mhm.
it's tough. Maybe you find a team like the Leafs who are desperate to keep clawing at defensemen, and you're like, hey,
In Ottawa.
we'll eat half of his cap hit and dump him on you guys for like a third round pick or one of the guys you drafted this year.
Is
Maybe
Anthony still there? I can't even see him.
I was trying to remember. I was trying to remember who the Leafs traded for halfway through the season from Montreal. Mr. Turtleneck. Oh, Mechanic. That's it. Thomas Mechanic deal.
The turtleneck?
Yeah, Mr. Turtleneck.
Thomas Turtleneck?
yeah.
Had to shave off his goatee for Lou.
Yeah. No face hair. Don't want to look like a hippie.
Uh,
So in Montreal's got some very interesting defensive prospects coming up as well, right? Like Kale Fleury, we don't know what he's going to look like for us in a couple years, right? Defensemen always
uh,
develop slow. Looks promising. Victor Mete, we don't know. We don't know. Times last season, it's like, oh my god, this guy's our future top line pairing. And then at times
mm,
last year, it's like, why is he even in the NHL? Like, this man needs more time to develop. So Montreal's going to be very interesting. I would love to see us move one of our depth wingers, and maybe, as I said, we have tons of defensive depth prospect wise, maybe a defensive prospect to someone that can give us a third line, maybe even second line center. Because I don't know, like Dano, Suzuki, Kokoniemi, realistically, like one of those guys is not going to live up to how they played in the playoffs because they all played pretty strong, right?
mhm,
So one of those
yeah.
guys isn't going to live
Oh,
up to it though.
Suzuki was incredible. Yeah,
Yeah,
Suzuki was incredible.
Suzuki was great.
Yeah.
Suzuki on a line with Gallagher is just nuts to watch. Absolutely nuts to watch,
Just
right?
the smallest, feistiest players ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Put
So
Theron Fleury on that line too.
yeah, it was absolutely nuts to watch. It gave me a little bit of excitement as a Habs fan, which I haven't had since like 2010. So
Gave me a little bit of a chub. It was great.
yeah, the last thing I want to talk about with the Habs is the horrible goaltender situation we're in right now.
It
Because
is quite perplexing.
we made a move for Jake Allen, and
On a
I'm
trade?
I- I'm still puzzled as to why we made a move for someone that's going to cost us 4 million plus as a backup goalie, when we have Carey Price, who we've committed 10 million a year
Mhm.
to. and who signed through like the 25-26 season.
Well,
Yeah.
if I may jump in,
Go for it.
I got to imagine that Carey Price isn't going to have a full season. He'll probably get injured like he does every season. Save you some cap space. And you might have heard today, they're talking about the radio is a big deal. Most all teams are going to be going through 4 games and 7 nights throughout the duration of the season, including travel time. So they're going to probably rest Price quite a bit. Allen's probably going to play upwards of 20 or 30 games this season, probably 30 games this season.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So, if they're going to be a fringe team, you're going to want that backup to be somewhat reliable and not super cold, like most of the least backup goaltenders. But I think it's a good idea that, hey, who was it a couple years ago? They just I think it was actually Montreal when Price went down, and they didn't spend any money on a backup. Their backup was like
Peter Budaj.
Yeah,
Tokarski.
Right?
Justin Tokarski.
And it showed
in
why.
the playoffs.
Obviously, 10.5 to Carey Price isn't a good deal. Right? I think that's as for me that's as bad. Even though he's a great goaltender, as bad as a Fleury contract right now. It's just costing lots of money, not getting the results you need out of it.
You're not wrong, but we also have Caden Primo in the wings, waiting, and Caden Primo looks promising. Right, so it's debatable whether it's like, hey, maybe we gotta give a young guy a chance, right? Like maybe we gotta give Primo. We have McNiven as well. Like we've got a couple of young goaltenders that look promising. And we have the rights to like some Russian goaltender as well. I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts.
Yeah, listen, Leafs had a ton of big goalie prospects, and pretty much none of them panned out. So, yeah, goalie prospects are one thing.
Dude, what are you talking about? You guys had the best goalie prospect in Tuukka Rask. You just dealt him.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I always go back to it, but I always swear up and down they should have traded Pogge if they could. All junior goalies look great in the Canadian national team. They all look great. So. Yeah. Anyways, whatever. Whatever.
So, to wrap this up, I thought maybe we'd do something different, and I'd do a quick rapid fire where I give you guys some signings that we didn't talk about, and you literally 10 seconds. Right? I start the clock, 10 seconds, give me your take on the signing, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
All right.
Aaron,
you start.
I'm gonna pick some notable ones from a costing perspective. Let's go with Markstrom.
Jakob Markstrom. Yeah, I don't like the deal too much. I think it's too high, 6x6. I don't really think he's been wooing that much. Last year was really strong, but I think it's just too much in a flat cap era.
I feel like Don Cherry. I like the deal. I think Calgary needed to pay because they've had shit goaltending since Kiprusoff. So they signed the guy you wanted. If that's who they wanted, I'm glad they gave him the money.
All right. Craig Smith. This one was interesting because it's not a big money number, but the value could be there, right? So he signed for what, 9.3 million, 3 years with Boston.
I like it. Really good depth. Tough guy. And he's going to be hanging out probably in the bottom 6 for Boston. Good role player.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that Boston can find these gems, these guys that buy into the system, and let the top 6 guys work their magic. And if you need to grind in the bottom 6, I think he's a good guy to do it.
Corey Crawford. So Corey Crawford, 2 years, 7.8 million, so 3.9 a year with New Jersey.
Yeah, does that get New Jersey to the basement of the cap hit? Because I feel like they just threw money at a situation just to get into the basement. I don't see where Crawford's value is, to be honest. Even when there's talks that he might sign with the Leafs, it just didn't make any sense to me. But if he's able to get almost $4 million out of New Jersey, that's a win.
Aaron, what do you think?
I thought he could have went somewhere else. I don't know why he'd go to New Jersey. I don't think they're going to be doing anything next year. Could have went to almost any other city. And yeah, I'm not the biggest Crawford fan. I think he's just always played on really good teams and kind of just ran the coattails. But he's got that veteran presence. He knows what it takes to be a champion.
Interesting take. I'm gonna give my 2 cents. Fucking injury prone beyond belief. When was the last time he
Especially
played a full
later in
season?
career.
Yeah.
Yeah, later in career. Yeah.
Calgary signs Christopher Tanev. 4 years, 4.5 million a year.
You said Calgary signed him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony, I went 2 in a row.
Yeah, I think it's another good signing for Calgary. You know, knowing that TJ Brodie is probably on his way out. I think to get guys out of Vancouver, because Vancouver's got such a good thing going, you got to probably pay a little bit of a premium. So I think it's going to build up a huge rivalry between Vancouver and Calgary. So I'm on board for that. If there wasn't one already.
What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, you know what? He's been a really big name in the last couple of years. It's always been Tanev, Tanev, Tanev. Another guy that I thought could have really had his choice in the market, and a lot of teams would probably be calling him up and seeing if they want to come over. I think Calgary is a good fit for him. You know, he fills in that role of TJ Brodie, Travis Hamonic leaving, and yeah, no, he'll play well. I like him as a defenseman. He'll fit in nicely.
I agree. I think if they got him for $500,000 less than they would have had to re-sign Brodie for, assuming Brodie would have wanted the same amount that he got from the Leafs.
Mhm.
So, for a little bit less, especially when they got some young guys, they're probably going to have to lock up for longer term, pay a lot of money to. Makes sense for Calgary from that perspective, right? Shattenkirk, 3.9 mil, 3 years with Anaheim.
I
I'm
missed
not.
this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he went to Anaheim. One of my buddies on my crew East, and he's a huge fan of his. A huge fan of Anaheim. Talk about a resurgence from a postseason and really strong season. This is what coming back to life is like. You get some good money. He's there for some term too. I'm pretty sure, right?
3 years.
Um,
3 years.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, good for him. I don't know why he didn't want to go somewhere else. He probably just saw that check and is like, yeah, fuck yeah, I don't want to play for $1 million as the champion team again. I already got my cup. See ya.
Yeah, I think you look at this guy, like he's played in New York, Washington, Tampa, like maybe not Tampa, but like the other two are hockey cities. I'm sure he's seen the highs and lows of that kind of stuff. He just wants
Colorado, St. Louis.
yeah, exactly. Oh, I forgot. I totally forgot about St. Louis.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he's probably just like, the twilight part. They gave him some money, veteran presence, whatever, and plus he can like hide out in California. I think he's gonna be fine. Just that it's an easy contract to sign. Give him 3 years. He'll probably get bought out after 2.
I think you guys kind of hit it on the head there. Matt Murray, the trade and the signing. So the signing 4 years, 6.25 mil with Ottawa, obviously.
And what was the trade?
Let me pull up the specifics. Let's see what they gave. Pittsburgh Penguins trade Matt Murray to the Ottawa Senators, and they got back forward Jonathan Gruden and 2020 second round pick, 52nd overall. So they got they got Gruden and a 52nd overall.
I personally think the second round pick should have been good enough. And I think the term is way too long. Same with the money. I don't know. Like he was the first one who went over 2 years, I think, as a free agent signing. Not just goalie, but any kind of player. I don't know. I almost felt like Ottawa just had all that cap room, so like here's a couple extra $1 million.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, it's kind of weird for me. I don't really get it, to be honest. I mean, I guess Matt Murray, I don't know what the market is for Matt Murray, to be honest. I didn't think he was that good to start, and I think Pittsburgh kind of was able to hide some of his like shit and
his follies, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. The trade doesn't seem like a whole bunch. It seems weird now to look at that trade when you see what happened with Nate Schmidt. So I think when you kind of compare those two just for the drafting, I mean, it doesn't make much sense for Matt Murray and Ottawa. Like fuck him first and foremost, but second, I just feel like Ottawa has this like weird mixing pot right now where they've got some guys who are like 2 or 3 years into their career. They got a whole bunch of like a blue chip farm system, and then they go sign Matt Murray. It just doesn't make it. It doesn't seem the right. I mean, if I would go to Holtby over Matt Murray if that was on the table. If you're going to give him that money, but Matt Murray just doesn't make sense to me in Ottawa.
Yeah. I agree with that. Here's an interesting fact. I was looking because I was like, I have no fucking clue who Jonathan Gruden is. Gruden played for the London Knights last season, posted 30 goals and 66 points in 59 games.
Those are good numbers.
Yeah, could be promising to get a second rounder and him.
The other thing I was going to say is Murray going to New Jersey makes more sense than Scott Darling going there. So I could have saw Matt Murray go to Jersey. I couldn't see him going to Ottawa. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Scott Darling.
Corey Crawford.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
It's all the same.
That's what I meant.
It's all the same.
Yeah. Aren't they the same person anyways?
No, I think the Murray thing's a little nuts. All right. We'll stick with goalies. I got two more for you, and then we'll wrap it up. First one, Braden Holtby. So Holtby, 2 years, 4.3 million a year with Vancouver.
You mentioned him before, Anthony. Go on.
Yeah. I like it for him. The money just seems a little low, to be honest.
What do you think, Aaron?
I was actually going to say, I think the money seems about right for flat cap. If it wasn't flat cap, I think he'd be asking a bit more money. Probably Matt Murray money, at least. I think it's that Matt Murray Vancouver. I think it's a good fit for Vancouver and him. He's a Western boy. He's from Saskatchewan. It's a good little fill-in for Markstrom leaving. I think Holtby, as a whole goaltender for career-wise, is much better than Markstrom. Obviously, he's older now, and he's been on the steady decline. This might be a nice resurgence.
Markstrom's old too. People forget Markstrom hit.
He's 30.
Yeah, Markstrom's 30, and Holtby's only 31.
Yep.
Wow.
I think it's just like everyone kind of forgets that. So like Markstrom's kind of picking it up finally, and then Holtby's kind of on the decline. Holtby won a cup with a really good Washington team. He's got a really good team in front of him, and Thatcher Demko is coming up, so he can mentor him. I think that's the biggest win, is that they got a mentor for Thatcher Demko, who's played some pretty clutch games.
I'm just doing a quick research right here. So Barry Trotz was with the Capitals from 2014-15 season through the 17-18 season, and those were Braden Holtby's best years. So
did he win a Vezina with them?
I think so.
He at least won once.
Well, because he had a 2.0 in 16-17, he had a 2.07 goals against average with a 9.25 save percentage. Interestingly, since leaving the last two seasons, 2.82 goals against average and 3.11 goals against average, and a 9.11 save percentage, which is not bad, but a 8.97 save percentage. So we've seen a stark decline since Trotz has left. Once again, if you're a goalie, align yourself on those Islanders, man. Or if you're a defender, get to the Islanders. That's where you want to be. You look like a stud.
Make your money. Then you make your money after.
Yeah. I think...
May sign in Ottawa.
But yeah, I think Holtby lucks out here because contract's an okay fit. And they just got Schmidt. And they're basically building up. They have a young core already in front of him, and then they're adding solid defensive pieces. 2 year, I think he signed in more of a prove-it deal. Maybe feels like he's setting himself up for success here, and then could come back, maybe get another 2 year deal or something like that for 5.5 mil afterwards, right? So, and then lastly, and this one's more for you, Aaron, because I just find it kind of entertaining, and I'm a little baffled by this. Cam Talbot, 3 years.
In
Minnesota, 3 years, 3.67 mil a year.
Yeah, that's a good deal for him. I like that for him. I like Cam Talbot a lot. I still have his jersey when he played for Edmonton. He had his record-setting year with Edmonton Oilers winning most winningest goaltender in a single season for Edmonton. I don't know. I think it's a good deal for him. He played very well for the Flames in the playoffs when Riddick had his follies throughout the season and then the playoffs too. It's a weird spot for Minnesota to trade away Devin Dubnyk to San Jose and then fill it with Cam Talbot.
Yeah.
I think this really shows that Minnesota is on the decline and they're not going to be anywhere near the playoffs next year. I love Talbot, but that's what he's going to be.
Yeah.
If I may,
let's hear it.
I always thought Talbot was a scrub. Never thought he deserved a number one. I thought I could be a career number two. I was surprised that Edmonton gave him the money and the term and gave him the number one spot. I was shocked. The fact that this guy's still in the league after 5 years past when everyone learned his name, shocks me. So way to go, Minnesota. You fucked up.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Caledonia kid. So Anthony just doesn't like him because of the native ties there. That's I don't know if you guys know that about Anthony. He's not a big fan of the natives. It's all about colonialism and colonization.
Yep.
Yeah. Very interesting take there, Anthony.
What I wanted to do before we sign off there is I wanted to bring up a few names and just see where we all think they might land. And just quick, maybe 1 minute on each guy, all three of us combined.
Yep.
Okay.
Line.
Ooh, I think they keep him
Wiener
now.
Peg.
Yeah, I think they keep him now.
Sure.
I don't think they're.
I
don't think they're trading him.
I think he stays. I think it goes for a non-discussion, where OEL just stays in Arizona now. I think he had his limit of where he was going to go somewhere, and he's just staying in Arizona right at the moment.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that was. I think they had the discussion during the draft. It's we're going to wait till free agency, and if it doesn't happen by the Friday, then he's not going anywhere.
You can't give two teams and expect a deal to get done in weeks' time. It's not going to happen.
Well, what are you going to give us? Well, what are you going to give us? Well, Boston said they were going to give us this. Well, Vancouver said we're going to give us this.
Oh man, what do you guys think? What do you guys think your team needs? One last thing. If you could go after one player.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, you still got more names? All right, let's hear
Hoffman.
Oh.
Ooh.
Nashville.
That's an interesting one.
Nashville always needs scoring. What else might?
That's the latest rumor I heard for Nashville. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just pulled that one out.
I'm gonna say Colorado.
I was gonna say Colorado. I don't know how he fits with that roster, but they have the cap space.
I don't know where he fits.
Can
They have the cap space. Pardon me?
Can you play for the Sharks?
That'd be very fun. That'd be very, very fun.
Trying to think where else he could go.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of deals are you gonna get? Maybe $5 million a year?
Does Carolina have cap space?
They've got to have a bit.
Dallas?
He'd be a good fit there.
I think Carolina would be a nice fit for him, but I don't know if Carolina's looking to add someone like him, who, once again, you question, with someone like Hoffman, he's a good player. He provides value to your team.
30 goals, at least.
Yeah, he's a 30 goal scorer, but then you're asking the question, okay, does this man, is he going to ruin the morale of the team? Is he going to leak shit about other players' wives, coaches, anything?
Buffalo. Goes to Buffalo.
Honestly, if Buffalo signs Hall, why not bring him in and just let the toxicity build? Maybe bring back O'Reilly.
Hall would probably sleep with Hoffman's wife. It'd be great.
You mean Big Rig, right?
It'll be a new TV series. It'll be called Halfman.
I would like to see the Canes. The Canes, I think, the Canes have a pretty good team overall, and I think having adding another 30 goal scorer to them is huge.
Canes have $5 million in cap space, so.
Ooh.
Oh, hold on. They got to fill 4 roster spots, so.
Boo.
That's not going to go very far.
Nah.
And the last name I have here is Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson.
Just got sent down on waivers.
Yeah. So once again, you're looking for a team that needs that kind of, I'd say, mid six to bottom six. Like,
I was thinking Detroit, just with the ties with Eisenman.
That's actually good. That's a good guess.
yeah, I was gonna say Ottawa just to once again. I think they still need to sign some people to hit that cap floor. So I just think good money for him.
He's a $5 million guy.
Interesting. I could not justify if the Canadians ever paid him $5 million. I like Tyler Johnson. Don't get me wrong, but fuck that. And like to me, he's like a $3.5 million player, and that's an insult.
Just in general. In general.
Just
not
in
even
general.
flat cap.
No, just in general.
Oh boy, ruthless.
I'm an asshole. He was carried. He looked better, but he looked better because he was on Tampa than he is as a player.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's fair.
All right. Lastly, Anthony, quickly.
Yeah.
If you could target one player who, like, there's a reason why he'd be available, who does Toronto go for?
Oh fuck, I don't know. I mean, there's always that talk in Buffalo about Russelainen becoming loose. So I always thought that'd be a good fit in Toronto, but he's probably the only name I can pop off the top of my head. But again, it seems like they got something going on with the D now. So, and then their bottom forwards seem like they got something going on now. So I don't know what a ton that the Leafs need. I guess of a number one goaltender if Anderson doesn't stick around. So I don't know. It's too tough right now. I'd have to. I can't give you anything.
Aaron, what about you?
I don't even know what available free agents there are that are.
Doesn't have to be a free agent.
Possible...
If you could think of a player that you think would fit that a team could move, like obviously Colorado's not moving anyone, but maybe a team where they have some old pieces that they're like, he's 35. Let's get rid of him.
He's 35.
Joe Thornton.
Joe Thornton would be pretty sweet, but we got that third line center now. Oh, just gonna quickly look on the board here.
What about you, Brian?
If there was a way to get DeBrusk, I would be pretty happy about that.
No, that's a
from
good
Boston.
take. That's a good take. It's funny because I have a Boston player in mind too. And it's nuts that I'm gonna say it, but then you think about it, I'm like, I don't think it's crazy. Bergeron, because he's 34 years old. He's 34 years old, and I think Boston is regretting the fact that they committed to Chara for so long. And I think in the next year or two, you could see them potentially wanting to move on from him. And Montreal needs a veteran center. So I think he's a great fit.
Montreal. I think it'd work Montreal. I'm just not sure if Boston would want to part ways with him. As soon as Chara retires, he's the new captain. Like, they love that guy.
6.8 on the cap.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine.
Trade Josh Anderson.
Yeah. Hey, you guys could have Josh Anderson, but once again, Boston just lost Krug. Montreal's stacked with defensemen. Maybe you can entice them. Like, hey, you got some options here, but obviously these are long shots. I would just love to see it. I would love to see like who else? Like,
if there was a way to get it, because I'm still not sold on Mike Smith and Koskinen being our goalie tandem. If there was a possibility to either pick up Merzlikins or Korpisalo, I would be all over that, big time. Huge.
No, that's valid. I can understand that.
Like, I'm not sure what the asking price would be. I'm sure it's quite high, but yeah, I'd have my mouth wide open for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, work the shaft, ball the gravy, cradle the balls.
I'm very curious to see what's going to happen coming out of free agency and what the season's going to look like, when the start date is, everything like that. So I'm sure we'll have another Hockey Town rate as the season's starting up, but
We definitely
This
should.
this was fun. This was nice to catch up
Mm.
and go through some thoughts and make sure I butcher at least one name per hockey town. It's a rule.
What was it? What was it?
Toffoli,
Toffoli?
Toffoli,
Toffoli. Toffoli.
Toffoli. Let's go. Um, awesome. All right, guys. With that being said, I think that's all I got to cover. What about you guys?
That's everything.
Yeah,
Right.
stay on the network. Lots of good things going on. We got Show Us Your TDs coming up this week, as well as part 3 of the sit down that Chalupa and I had with Sarizzo. I can't remember what the name is. I think it's called Goat Fucker. Good luck.
Something like that.
Perfect.
Should be a good time. Yeah.
Sweet.
Right on. Thanks, boys.
Any awkward throat clears
One.
coming up down the line? Anything you're trying to line up?
Talked to a few people, been in Instagram chat with a few musical artists and seeing if that could actually happen. Now that I'm in Ontario, there's always the possibility of actually meeting, celebrity status folk. But, COVID and then also a new job,
It's a little tough.
and I'm getting paperwork done for, like, transition from Alberta to Ontario. Like, good Lord. So.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, but the more I get to run into some old friends, firefighting buddies and stuff like that, the more possibility of recording. So,
Sweet.
right on.
Awesome. All right, guys. You have a good night, and
You as well.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the rest of the year.
Go Leafs, go.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, no, Brian, I hope that you get some good sleep time here.
Oh, I have been.